Good afternoon, everyone. Beth O'Connor here, technology trainer at LIBOR. I'm sure we've met before. And this week's LIBOR Wednesday webinar is about sprucing up your listings so everyone can find them. So I'm thrilled that you've joined us. We are recording this. If you want to go back or tell someone else about it, it will be posted to the lirealtor.com/COVID page of LI Realtor. I'm probably this afternoon, but let's give them till tomorrow to get it produced. So you'll be able to go back over. So we're going to talk about adding your listings into Stratus, some of the new fields. Let's talk about some of the highlights. We have new data fields like year renovated, the high school, the elementary school, fencing. We'll go over those. They've reorganized other data fields, just kind of put them into groupings that make more sense and makes it easier really to find things. We now have 36 photos for your listings. I'm not sure if everybody is even aware of that. Your property description has been expanded to 1,000 characters. That's a lot of space. And you also have expanded room descriptions that you can take really good advantage of, all right, when you're looking at your listings. Now, this webinar will be about 45 minutes, and I will definitely stick around afterwards for questions. Maybe we can do that at 12:45. I will occasionally check the Q&A for questions, but I'm on my own today. I don't have a monitor, so we probably will have to leave the bulk of the questions till the afternoon. Now, one thing I'm not going to cover is MLS rules, the new rules. I can show you where to find that information, but we're going to stick to Stratus adding and editing listings for the most part for this webinar, okay? So let me get over to my Stratus. There we go. Okay, so if my face is too large and you can't see much of my screen, just use the middle line there and kind of make my image smaller and the Stratus larger so that you really can see what I'm going to show you. Now, I looked through at least 100 listings yesterday, brand new listings that were put on the MLS yesterday. And I had a really hard time finding listings that I thought were complete, that were well done. And I'm really hoping that with this webinar, we can start the process of showing agents and helping you and encouraging you to really complete your listings fully. This listing is one that I found that I thought was one of the best that I had seen in an awfully long time. So it's let me just zoom in a little bit so you can see. Okay. Oops, let me just get a little closer. There we go. So it's a listing in Massapequa Park. The agent is Daniel Patterson. Completely random that I chose his listing, but I will tell you after my conversation with him yesterday, he is one of our 20 under 40 realtors. He is a brand new realtor, just I think 4 or 5 years. He's told me that he has been an agent. And guess what, gang? This is your competition. A young go-getter who understands the importance of the data on the listing. He told me that he thought an incomplete listing was as bad as a listing without photos. And I couldn't agree more. So let's look at what he gave us on this listing. So first of all, some of the new fields that we see are the schools, right? We have not only the district, but we have elementary, junior high, and high school. One of my favorite things he did is under directions. Now, this is not new. He actually told us how to get to the house. When you put your directions in and you put Waze or CMapQuest, it's not very helpful if, let's say, the agent who's on their way, their phone dies, right? They don't have Waze, they don't have MapQuest, they're on their way to the property. If you had at least just put a couple of streets on there, then maybe using an old-fashioned paper map, they'd be able to get to it. So please, just a little bit of directions there. Let's stop putting CMapQuest or use Waze or Google Maps, okay? So location features, he put in a lot close to the bus, park, school. Those are all new fields. He took full advantage of not only the agent-only remarks, but the public remarks to give a lot of information about the property. And then when we scroll down, we see all of everything is filled out if it was applicable to this property, everything. He even filled out the approximate interior square footage. We talked about it. He looked it up on the Nassau County website, which shows the square footage for every property in Nassau. I'll show you a link to that in just a minute. In Queens, you have a site where you can look up property square footage, and many of the townships in Suffolk County also have that. I was able to find a bunch in Brookhaven recently. So if you can find the interior square footage on your listings, you have to put it on. That's the new rule for MLS. You have to put it on. And notice it says approximate, and then you can qualify where you found it. So you get hauled into court, someone says this property is 300 square feet less than he put on the listing. You're going to just show where you got that information and hopefully have less liability there. So we want you to put interior square footage on your listings and then tell us where you got that information. If you can't find it anywhere, that's okay, but please make an effort to find that. Okay, so let's just look a little further down. He has given us some building features included in the house when they move is the shed, the ceiling fan, etc. He took full advantage of this new floor plan, right? He tells us here that the kitchen, it's a large eating kitchen, and it's possible to knock down the wall connecting the kitchen and the dining room. That's very helpful information. Everybody wants the open concept. So even though this isn't, he's given us the information that it is easily doable, right? Updated bath in the last 10 years, really good detail for each one of the rooms. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay. And let's see. So great job to Daniel Patterson for this listing. He put in 28 photos. All of them are taken in landscape, not portrait. Take your pictures this way, hold your phone this way if you're going to take pictures, and put the best picture here in the first spot. Okay, it doesn't have to be the front of the house. Put the best picture right here. Okay, so we'll go over all of that as well. All right, let me move myself out of the way here. We're going to close that. And what I'd like to do is show you some resources on the Info Center where you can look up some information that you're going to need for your listings. Okay, so over here on the right side, the One Key MLS Links menu is where you're going to find some really, really important information. So let me just check here. Yeah, about square footage, Martha's telling us one of her agents had approximate square footage and lost a lawsuit. And I'm going to hope that now that it has where you got that information, that might help. It might have been before we had that. We didn't have that before. So I understand the concern. But in the rest of the country, every agent puts square footage, interior square footage on their listings. I've never seen it the way it is on Long Island anywhere else. So now that it's available, you can put it on your listings, all right? And so over here on the side here, I want you to look at this link right here to verify the taxes, okay? Just click on that to verify taxes. It opens up a PDF. Feel free to take a picture of this if you want. Maybe I can make it a little bit larger. There we go. So these are the sites and the phone numbers where you can verify taxes. And the websites often will give you the interior square footage of a property. And if you bring that interior square footage that's coming from the county records over to your listing, I think you would be fairly well protected in the case of a lawsuit. So as long as you document that, print where you got it from, and that would probably help. So in New York City, you're going to this website, nycprop.nyc. You can just click on that link right from what I showed you. In Nassau County, it's nassaucounty.ny.gov. And then the villages in Nassau County, mostly it's just the phone numbers, but a couple of them have it on websites. Rockville Center, Valley Stream. And then in Suffolk County, there is no county website, but some of these townships have information on taxes and square footage. I was able to look up my old house in Brookhaven, a couple of friends' houses. They all had square footage and they all had the current tax bill. So I feel like I would feel very confident on putting that. You can even attach it. If you want to attach that to your listing, go right ahead. Okay, if you feel more comfortable doing that. So again, this information on how to verify taxes and look up square footage is right here on your Stratus Info Center under the One Key MLS links to verify taxes. Now, when I spoke to Daniel, I asked him, how did you collect all this information? Did you have to call the seller when you were putting the listing in Stratus? And he told me he used the new form, brought it with him on his listing presentation, filled out what he already knew, and then with the homeowner's help, filled in everything else. And that form can be found here under MLS Forms. All of the new forms are here, and you can fill them out on the computer or you can print them and take them with you. Okay, so the residential property data section form, I'm going to click on that. And this is an 8-page replication of everything that you're going to need to put in Stratus. Okay, and if you want to type on it, you can. I'll just show you how to, oops. For some reason, I think it's because of my Zoom, I'm not able to show you filling it out. But you can fill this all out, fill out what you know, and then bring it to your seller and get the rest of the information. Collect it all before you go over to Stratus. And we'll talk about some of the new fields and things like that. You can also save this in Instinet. This is not a legally required form. The only one when you take a listing that's legally required is the commission agreement, the listing agreement. This, though, it does have a place if you want the seller to sign it at the bottom. They can do that, right? But it is certainly not required by MLS that you use this form. It's just a lot easier to collect all this information from the seller when you have this. And you could save a PDF over in Instinet. It's not on Instinet yet. I don't have information about when it will be, or whether or not you're even going to be able to upload from Stratus like you used to be able to in Instinet. You can still use the old forms if you have them, but you'll be missing some of the new fields. So that's just something to keep in mind here. All right, let me just check for questions on this form. Okay. So Catherine's asking, can you say see floor plan for square footage? Well, sure you can, but honestly, if I'm looking at the field called square footage, or I even want to search by that, why are you making me look somewhere else? So you can say that you got it from the floor plan. When you put the square footage on, one of the options I'm going to show you. Okay, and somebody who's anonymous says, has MLS considered a partnership with Geodata or Property Shark? Not that I know of, but you don't know. Many brokerages have accounts with Geodata or Property Shark, and they get great information from there. I understand Geodata really has great information, but that is a subscription. Okay. All right. So let's go over to close this. We'll just look at this list of MLS forms really quick again. So again, I was on the Info Center and I clicked on MLS forms right here. Okay, all the new ones are here. Everything you need for residential, condo, co-op, rental, land, commercial. Your listing agreements, everything except the commercial listing agreement, that one has not been finished. They're working with the commercial division leadership to get that one done. You can use the old form. And then some of the new forms, your cancellation, we used to call that withdrawal, that's here. Your coming soon. And then this modifications and exclusions explanations, we're going to look at that, but I want to bring this document up if you want to take a picture of this, you certainly can. This is where you're going to put if a property is a short sale, if there's an ownership interest, the listing broker or listing agent has an ownership interest in the property, if there's any buyer exclusions or agent exclusions, all of that must be divulged on your listing. It's not optional. You need to tell all the other agents if there's any kind of modification or exclusion to the listing. All right. And again, this is on that same page all the way at the bottom. And the commercial field explanations are here as well, because some agents have been struggling with the commercial listing form. They don't really know what to put in some of these fields. So they're all explained here. So if you're putting in a commercial listing, make sure you go through this one form before you do that. Okay. All right. So that said, I want to show the listing I was showing you before. I want to show you how it looks on Zillow, and then I'm going to show you how a listing that's not really completed looks on Zillow. Okay, so I have that in my favorites, Dan's property. And what I do when I want to see it on Zillow is I just highlight the address. This is the quickest way. Right click and search it on Google. Or if you're using a different browser, it doesn't matter. And most likely the first one that comes up will be that property on Zillow. It might be Redfin, it might be Compass, it might be something else. It might be Realtor.com, but you'll find Zillow. Click on that listing. And so here's what, because he filled this out so completely, if you go to the facts and features, which of course all buyers know how to do this, most realtors aren't as familiar with it as the buyers are. You go to facts and features, right? It comes down to just the basics, but guess what the buyers know to do? They know to click on this see more facts and features, right? Just like they know how to go to the price history and click more to see that it's been on and off the market, anything like that. So when you click see more facts and figures, look at what we've got because of Dan's completed listing, right? Everything, appliances, utility information, materials, what the house was built with. We have some new options on that. Very clear parking information, bedrooms and baths, all of that, because he filled in that listing very, very carefully, has come over to Zillow as well. So whereas there's another listing I wanted to show you that I don't want to pick on anybody, but I found this listing in Brooklyn. I don't think it's one of our agents. That really is very, very basically filled out. No school info, barely any public remarks. It's been on the market since January, so any of the new fields we had are not filled out. This agent doesn't appear to have come back to this listing to fill things out since it went on MLS in January. So if you look at this one in Zillow, I highlight it, you're going to see, it's the third one down in this case, you're going to see very little info, only 3 photos. If I go to facts and features, it's really very little information. Very little compared to what we had from the other listings. So the more data you give these consumers, the less likely they're just to click off of it because there isn't any info. You know, when you're shopping and it doesn't say maybe the size of an item, you just go, oh, it doesn't say what size, I'll skip it, right? It's not that they don't want it, it's just that they don't have enough information. So I'm going to encourage you to really complete your listings carefully. Okay, so let's go to an edit listing. Let me just make sure I've shown you everything in that segment. I'm going to check for questions real quick now. I only see one. I don't understand that question, Janet, and it has profanity in it, so I'm not going to repeat it. All righty. So what I want to do is bring up a listing, and if you need to edit your listings, this is the easiest way to go. So after today, after this webinar, please go to My Lists and My Listings, okay? If your menu's on the right side, just do the same thing, My Listings over here on the side, My Listings, okay? And then if you click on your listing, you will have the option to edit it. This is where you can add more photos, more data. You should be continually updating and freshening up your listings. Right now, this one I started has only the basic information, what was required. So this is what it would look like if you didn't really fill out a listing completely. I only filled out what I had to fill out, okay? Now I get it, sometimes you're in a hurry and you really need to get that listing on, but please come back to it when you do have some time and fill in everything else, all right? This is not a one shot. You put it on and you can never change it. You can update your listing throughout the life of the listing. Just come back in and click on edit, which is what I'm going to click on right now. And there's a whole bunch of options, but the top one will let you edit all of these as well. It also will let you convert from here a private listing to a public available if that needs to be done. All right, so I'm going to click on continue. Now I have not linked this with a public record because it's not a real listing. I'm just using this for training. It's not a real house, but you should absolutely find the public record before you put your listings on. Just give the other agents as much information as possible and find if you can. If you can't, you can continue without linking, but it really is to everyone's advantage to link to the public record. So, all right, so this is what add edit looks like, okay? I'm assuming that most of you have seen this or played around with it. You can play around with it, just don't hit submit if you're not, if you're just testing and trying it out. Just go through the whole thing, but don't hit submit. If you've never put a listing in, you might want to get familiar with this. Now, here's one thing. I'm going to move my menu here. Here's one thing I'm going to tell all of you. If you're looking at a small monitor, you have to make the text larger, okay? Or if your eyes can't see this well, please, before you start typing, make this larger. And here's how you do it. You hold Control on your keyboard and then the plus sign. Makes everything get larger. You see that? So now no problem. I mean, these are computer glasses, not reading glasses. So I don't need it as much, but I certainly find this to be very, very helpful to make it larger. All right. So that's Control plus, and you can do Control minus to go back out if you made it too large. All right. That's not a Stratus thing. That's a computer thing. Okay. Every computer does that. If you're on a Mac, it's Command plus on a Mac. All right, so of course the blue ones are the required, but we want to fill in as much as possible, okay? So if it's residential court, you're going to put that in, right? You're going to go through these and fill out everything you possibly can fill out, all right? And the first thing you're going to come across that's new is that when you select the school district, let me select the other school district and you'll see what happens. If I select Glen, there's two possible school districts for that, for Seacliff, and one of them is Glen Cove. So as soon as I chose the school district name of Glen Cove, it auto-filled the name of the high school. There's only one. And the junior middle school, again, there's only one. Some big school districts have more than one high school, and some of them have more than one junior or middle school. Ask the seller which schools, and then you would choose whichever elementary school it is, okay? This is something you've been asking for years, is the ability to know which elementary school the children will go to, right? Because the buyers, they want to know how close. If it's close by and maybe they can even walk, they'll love that, right? So you're going to be able to tell them that. And then you're going to have these groupings. So the first one is this location features. What you're going to do is check off everything that applies to this property. Is it close to the bus? It's close to school. No, so we'll leave it blank. Is it close to school? Is it a horse property, et cetera, et cetera? There's parks, and it is on a cul-de-sac, okay? You can check anything that applies here. You don't have just one option. You can check as many as apply, okay? So we're going to come down and you have now your sewer trash included in taxes. You can put that. Then you have your listing dates. If it's a coming soon listing, this is where you put the on market date there, okay? The explanation is here. You can check MLS rules for that, but coming soon listings cannot be shown at all by anyone. Okay, it means they're doing the painting and the cleaning up, garage, all of that kind of thing. All right, so we have these groupings now. So for example, something like the attic. This one has a full attic with actual stairs, real stairs. It's not finished. So we're going to leave all of those off right here. So just check off everything that applies. Now, as I mentioned, this is now required, the interior square footage. So if I look this up on the Nassau County website and it says it's 4,500 square feet, I'm going to drop this down and I'm going to say I got it from the municipality. That means Nassau County. So your options are either from an appraisal, a blueprint, field measured, meaning you measured it. Haven't seen that in a while. The floor plan, somebody was asking if I got it from the floor plan, so go ahead and say that here, okay? Or you got it from the town, or you got it from Zillow, just call it other, all right? But if you can get it somewhere, you need to put that number in here. So we'll say that we got it from the county, municipality. Now when basements, we're having some issues with basement because a lot of people are checking finished, but they're not checking full. So if I search for full basements, I'm not gonna get this house. If I search, let me repeat that. If I search for full basements, this house will not come up in my search because this is not selected. So select everything that applies, just everything. Is it a walkout? Is there more information in the remarks? Something like that, okay? Interior features, this is where they grouped all of the fields. They were kind of randomly around the, first floor master bedroom is here. A foyer, living room, dining room, hardwood floors. That's a new searchable field now, okay? If you saw the hardwood floors and you check this off, other agents can then search for properties with hardwood floors. We didn't have that before. You know what? We did have that in the last few years. What am I thinking? We did. But something like marble or granite countertops was not a searchable field before. Den or family room. Now, if it's a first floor master bedroom, I'd probably also just check off this first floor bedroom one, okay? If it has a powder room, a wet bar, exercise room, it does have granite, it has a master bath. So I know that this takes time, but it's just well worth it because people who will search by any one of these fields will find your listing, all right? It has sprinklers, an eat-in kitchen, formal dining room. It has a pantry, a security system, you see? Maybe it has wall-to-wall carpeting in the bedrooms. I've checked off everything that applies. This is probably one of the most important. This and your basement information and your central air or your air conditionings are the important ones. Now this included is what stays with the house when they move, okay? Now this will take some time and you need to go down the list with the seller. Are they leaving any AC units, an attic fan, the ceiling fans? Of course they're leaving most likely the dishwasher, the dryer. They're going to leave the, where's our oven and range? They're going to leave the microwave, right? All that stuff. Just makes it completely clear. So go through this list with the seller and make sure that you've got everything checked off that they're going to leave. Okay. Okay, so new field here, you can put the approximate year built, and now you can, now you can actually put an exception. If you're estimating when it was built, you can say estimated if you're not really sure. If you're 100% sure, you can say actual. If it's a new house or under construction, you can put that in there, okay? If you don't know, you just put unknown, and I think you can just put you in there. No, I'm not sure you can. I guess you have to just put something. Okay. We'll say that this is estimated. This is a new field, year renovated. So if this house had a big renovation in 2010 and then again in 2014, I'd put the most recent one. And then you can describe more in your remarks below. Okay. I'm going to stop for questions now before we do the room description. So if you have a question, type that in. Lois, we'll get to open houses in a minute. Gina has a good question. Is it possible for them to add the asterisks on those data forms? Some of our agents don't fill it all out. That's a really good point. I love that. Agree. I love that. I'll ask about that, Gina. I think that's great. She wants that form to have the stars so everybody knows what's required. But somebody says, once you update your listing, would Zillow pick up the new information? Absolutely. We feed to Zillow all day long. They're getting listing information, including changes to listings. You may have to go over and log into your listing in Zillow for some, I think for rearranging photos and things like that, but for the most part, it'll come from whatever you do in Stratus will get pushed over to Zillow. Okay. Lisa's asking about how can you review how to search whether pets are allowed in a rental property. I don't know that we'll have time for that. Okay. Rob, well, we'll talk about exclusions in a second, Rob, and I will get to your question. Okay, so most of the questions I'm going to be getting to, so hang on. All right, so here's how you're going to put your rooms in. And I know this takes extra time, but you're going to describe each room separately. So we'll start with, oh, I'm sorry, what happened there? We will start with level 1. I think in the way it goes basement 1, 2, 3. It'll reorder them if you put them in that way. So on level 1, the first room I'm going to describe is the living room. Okay, and it's got built-in bookshelves. The dimensions are 15 by 20. Freshly painted. Anything you want to say, you can put in here, okay? That will be helpful. Then click the plus sign to put the next room in. Also on level 1, let's talk about the kitchen. Okay, so they are 2016 Bosch appliances. It has a bar with room for 4 stools. You know how important that is to people, right? Any descriptive information that would be helpful that you don't have room for in other places. All right. And then you'll just continue along. Oh, I didn't need to delete that. I hit the minus sign instead of the plus. So you would just continue. This time we're going to add, also on the first floor, let's add that it has a powder room. I saw it. We'll call it a lavatory. All right. Now you don't have to put a description in. You can just add it that way. If you don't have time for the descriptions, you can always come back and get this in. Just keep hitting the plus sign. All right. And then you'd go to the second floor, put those rooms in, bedroom. Maybe it's the master. Master. Sometimes I think now we're going to call this the owner bedroom. It sounds like that's where we're moving the direction in other MLSs. You know, ensuite, whatever it is you're going to say about the different rooms upstairs. Okay. Now, you get the idea, right? You put in, I'm not going to do the whole house because I think it will save time. We'll put the extra bedroom in here. And then you could do the basement. Now, if there's a floor you need to describe that's not a 1, 2, 3 basement lower, or then you can use other. If it has a 4th floor, you can use other there, okay? And if there's not a description for the room you need, just use additional, okay? Now some agents, here's how they do it. Instead of each room separately, here's what they do. They leave this at other, they leave this at additional, and they do this. They do first floor, additional, and then they do the old way, LR, DR, KIT, half bath, you can do it that way if you're in a big hurry, but it doesn't give it as much oomph as it would if you were just describing each room. This is not against the rules for you to do this. And I don't even think the room descriptions, but just because you put, let me just go through this. Just because you put, oops, I'm sorry. Let me make sure you can see that. Just because you put some of these rooms up further, up where it said interior features, doesn't mean you should leave them out here. You should put them in both places. Okay, you are duplicating the information, but just because you mentioned living room above doesn't mean, because somebody might actually search this way. Okay, I'm going to check for questions on the rooms only. Let's see. Okay, we got questions all over the place. Yeah, Claudia, I've heard people talking about master bedroom as owner bedroom, but your MLS is still calling it a master bedroom. Okay, here we go. It did not reorder for me by floor when I added a first floor room after I was done with level 2. Is it automatic? Hi, Marilyn. How are you? It will happen on the listing, not here. It won't reorder them at the time you put them in. It'll happen when you submit the listing. And generally, if you, as you're going through, if you hit preview up here at the top left corner, you'll be able to see how your listing looks so far, right? Which I have to remove that. I wanted to tell you and talk about that. We'll get to it in a second. But the rooms, see how it'll reorganize them once it gets on the page like that, okay? All right, so let's move along here. We have exterior features, right? Now what they've done is they've separated construction from siding. Hallelujah, because a house can't be made of cedar shakes, right? It's not built with cedar shakes. That's just what's on the outside. So if it's a post and beam, or there's some kind of energy, you know, insulation, all those, I don't know a thing about this, but check off everything that applies, right, for the house. And then Marilyn could tell us a lot about the green features for sure. And then the siding is what's on the outside of the house. So maybe it has, my last house had both clapboard and cedar shake. Okay, so just check off everything. The building features is one of the places you're going to find pools. There's another place, exterior features, where they're also listed. So I would just check them off if it's got an in-ground, if it's got an in-ground pool. But this is also where you can put things like screens. It's got a fireplace, owned solar panels or leased solar panels, things like that. Okay, so make sure you take some time with that. All right. Now parking, this has been making everybody crazy. Everything having to do with the cars and the motorcycles and anything with wheels is under parking. What size garage, whether there's a driveway, shared driveway, or party driveway, that's actually still a required field here. If it's a shared driveway, it's called a party driveway. Not necessarily where you're having parties, but there's two parties are sharing the driveway. Okay, so that's a required field driveway. But give us some information, okay? If the house has a 2-car attached garage, I would check that. It also has a driveway. I would just check parking. I would check garage. These are the same fields used for rentals and condo co-ops. So some of them are large buildings and they have things like, you know, garage, public parking, street parking, right? Just check off everything that applies here, okay? Lot description, these are some new nice fields here. Is it in the historic district? Does it have some stone or brick walls? Is it a wooded property? Is it a corner lot, right? All that. Is it nice and level? Or is it sloping? Those are nice. Your lot exposure, which way the house face. Now your exterior features, this is really important. This is where you can put in if it has a pool. Let's check off in-ground pool. But it also has a fenced yard. So there's 3 different fencing fields: fenced, fenced yard, and fencing. I can't tell you exactly what the differences are. I guess fencing means there's some fencing. So I would just check all 3 off And then you can explain new windows, does it have a porch, any kind of a roof deck, a balcony, a patio, a sprinkler system, things like that, okay? Those, you just check off everything. Other structures, is there a barn, an outbuilding, a workshop? Does the property have any kind of a view, city view, bridge view, scenic view, right? Check that off there. Now, waterfront features, this is also really, really important that you're careful with this. What we're seeing is that agents are taking waterfront listings and they're only checking off what type of water it's on. So I take a listing on the bay and I just check bay and I move on. Well, this listing is not going to show up when I ask for waterfront listings because it wasn't checked off. So not only bay, but also waterfront and also water view. Okay, just check everything that applies. If it has dock, take your time and go through these one by one, right? Maybe it has bulkhead, maybe motorboats are allowed, things like that. Water access, just check everything, okay, to make it easier for other agents to find it. Okay, we have some nice new fields for your heating fuels, your heating type. Check off everything that applies here. Your sewers now and your water, where does the water come from? Your hot water. AC. Now with AC, if it has central air, I want you to check central and yes, okay? Because sometimes people might just say air conditioning, yes, not really realizing that it's probably better to say you want central air in your search. So always check yes if it's got any kind of air conditioning. Always check yes, and then tell us what kind of air conditioning does it have. Maybe it has a ductless, central, Energy Star, geothermal, SEER rating, right? All of those things. Or maybe it just has a few window units, in which case we'll just say it has wall and window units. And then that's pretty much what we would fill in for that, okay? So do say yes, and then describe what kind of air conditioning it has. This is where you're going to tell us the water description. Does it have well water? Is it municipal, spring water, community, all of that. Your green features, okay? All of those are listed here. And then the, this part has not changed really at all. There's nothing really new here in your section. What is new is that your property description is now called public remarks. Okay, and you now have up to 1,000 characters to describe the property. That's a lot more than you used to have. But just because you put it in public remarks doesn't mean you can leave it off the other parts of the listing, because very few agents know how to search public remarks. Okay, we teach it, but it's not easy to do. So the best thing is to put it in many places, put the information in many places. Okay, the excluded is what is not staying with the house. What are the sellers taking with them? Okay, so they're going to take the chandelier, they're going to take their entertainment cabinets, and they're taking their some kind of built-in shelves. Okay, check that off. Now this section here is what we were talking about before, modifications and exclusions. You must disclose here. If it's a short sale, it's M8. If there's an ownership interest, the broker or the agent, you have to click on M6. Okay, if there's a buyer exclusion, somebody who they've been dealing with before you got this listing, or if there's an agent exclusion, that's an M2. Okay, all of these explanations are where I showed you on the Stratus Info Center on the right side under the MLS forms. All of these descriptions are there. Okay. The other new things we got here is auction listings. There's your REOs, still a required field separate. Auction term sale and contract vendee listings. These are new fields published to Zillow and sent to Realtor.com. If for some reason you don't want them to go, the owner doesn't want it to go to Zillow or Realtor.com, you have to say no here. If you leave this blank, it goes. Okay. And then your virtual tours, no big change there. Open houses got nice and clean now. It's not so insane. So when you click add an open house, you just have to pick the type. Maybe you're still doing some virtual where you walk through and you do it on Zoom or Facebook Live or something like that. So you can still put that in. And, but if you're doing a live one, just date, time, and all of that, okay? And you can put multiple open houses in by just clicking on the plus sign, okay? I'm gonna check for questions before we talk about photos. So I'm just gonna see if there's any questions that apply to what we've covered so far. So Lois, I hope that answered your question about open houses. You can do broker and consumer. I guess what you were saying is that you wanted it to be both. So yeah, I guess you have to put it in if it's broker and public, put in the broker one first and then click the plus sign and then put it in also as a public. Okay, so it'll come up in both of those places. Okay, more questions. If you jumped in late, this is all being recorded and it'll be posted on LI Realtor by tomorrow for sure on the COVID page. And I will stick around for questions if anybody has them. We're just going to cover the photos right now. Okay, I'm going to get to your questions in just a minute. Now, you now have 36 photos. So if you have current listings that only have the 20 or 4 or whatever, please come in here and upload more photos. It's so simple to do. Click upload, go to browse. And it's easy if you just click the first one and hold shift, and then you can just put all of them in at the same time. It goes much faster now than it used to. You can put high resolution photos and up to 36 photos. Now you can rearrange them. If this is not the best feature that you want to show in the first spot, then drag what is. So maybe this incredible kitchen, I'm going to drag that over here. Now, that's perfectly acceptable in the MLS rules while it's on the market. When it sells, you have to move this front picture back. A lot of agents take out the other pictures anyways, so this remains the last photo, but it doesn't have to be here when the listing first goes in. Okay, put the best thing. And you can tweak these. This one is a little bit too wide, so I'm going to hit crop, and it's telling me it needs to kind of be like that shape. So I'll hit apply. What you want it to do is fill up this whole box here. Okay, so again, you just hit crop and then kind of just finagle it. So there you go. So now it fills up the whole box. You can even make it, if you have a really dark photo, this listing has great pictures. You can actually make them lighter. If you had a really dark one, you just click on brighten, and it kind of looks like there's almost like a light behind you where it's saved. Now, if you did take pictures in landscape, in portrait, maybe you were holding your phone, you know, this way. Always hold your phone this way when you take your listing photos, always. But you can fix it even if you don't want to go back and retake the photo. So watch this. I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to click on crop. And you know what? I think we're going to crop the bottom of that toilet out. We're just going to show that it has, we can see the size of it kind of with that photo, right? Save it. And now you've just fixed that picture, so it fills up, and we don't have to see the toilet seat either. Okay, so make sure you make the most of your photos. Now your attachments, this can be anything. You've seen the COVID forms, the floor plans, all of those things. So you just click on upload, browse. Hopefully you already have it on your computer. I'm going to grab these few things that I already had in the folder, and then you can upload them there. Okay, you have up to 20 uploads for your attachments. Okay, and then the flood zone, if you check off one of the flood zones here, it'll get an automatic report, and the report will get attached here. Or if you have your own report, that can get uploaded. The last thing I'm going to cover, when you take a listing, it's your responsibility to make sure this red dot is in the correct location, okay? And in a lot of areas, it's not in the right location, and you don't want liability for that. Believe me, you worry about liability for interior square footage, but how about the liability for that's not the house? So here's what I would do, or what I do, is let me just scroll up a little bit so you can see the tools. I'm gonna zoom out a little. Okay, so we can see more of this page. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna switch from road to aerial view, and then I'm gonna zoom in and put this right in the middle, and I'm gonna zoom in as close as I possibly can till I can actually see houses. You see that? Now you can tell which one it is. And if this red dot is not in the right place, then follow these instructions to move it, okay? So if this is the actual house, you hold control and you click on the actual house. Let's try that again. I don't know why it's doing that. Acting a little funny when I do that. Hold control, click on, there we go. Yeah, you'd think you'd drag this, but it doesn't work that way. So don't get frustrated. Just read the instructions up here at the top. Make sure that's in the right place. And then if your listing is fully completed, you go ahead and you submit. And you'll know which things have been left out that are required. Okay, and what it is my open house. I started it, but didn't complete it. So I have to go back up to that and delete. And now I can submit. And again, check your listing on the preview before you do submit it and get an ML number. But you can always come back to your listings. All right. Now, one more thing I want to show you before I go to questions. Let me exit from here. Is I want to show you how you do multifamily properties now, because that's changed. There's changes in all the classes of property. But I do want to show you when you add a multifamily. So I'm going to go to Add Edit. I have, let's see. Okay. You know what? I can just use, okay. We're going to go through the public record process. We're going to say Atlantic Beach starts with a T. Just kind of randomly going through this. If this is not the house you want to put in, you can add without linking. And since I'm just practicing, I'm going to add without linking to the public record. Okay, so let's say your listing is a multifamily, right? Fill in all your info up here. I'm going to skip past it, and then you're going to come down here. And by the way, I meant to show you before where the directions are. I'm sorry. I'm going too fast here. Here we go. Number of families. If you put a number larger than 1 in there, I'm going to put a 2. And then I'm going to tab or go to the next. You have a whole new section here where you can describe each unit of the multifamily property separately. It's fantastic. So you can say whether you have a permit, if you have the permit number, and then add a unit, right? Click right here to add individual information. If you don't have that information about each unit, you could come back to it and just put in that the building has 3 one-bedrooms and 1 two-bedroom property, and just fill out this kind of information here, okay? But if you do have the information on each unit, click on Add a Unit, and we're going to say Unit 1 is on the first floor. It has 3 rooms, 1 bedroom, 1 full bath. You see how each one, it has no half baths. Square footage, we'll say 654, right? And then you can call this a 1 bedroom apartment. Okay, does it have all the appliances? And then you would go and add your second unit by clicking on the plus sign here. Okay, so this will really give you the opportunity. There's unit 2. This will give you the opportunity to describe each unit of the multifamily. All right. So I hope that if you have any multifamily properties in Stratus right now, that you'll go back to your listings. And remember, I said go to My Lists, and My Listings is the easiest way for you to get to editing your own listing, right? You just open it up and you click edit. And remember how I changed this photo so that the kitchen was the first one? Doesn't that look nice? So it gets some nice attention. So I'm going to go to questions now. We've gone a little longer than I had hoped, but I hope that if you need help, you can reach out to customer service. It's customer service at lirealtor.com, or they're available by phone, 631-661-4800. There's lots of resources on the One Key site if you need them. I just want to mention that. If you go to onekeymlsny.com, this is not the consumer site. This is your corporate site for the company. And you go to resources and help center. There's tons of information in here, videos, webinars on the rules, changes, everything is in here. So onekeymlsny.com is really important if you haven't been. Most of you have been here already, but I would strongly suggest that you check this out if you haven't, since One Key went live in March. So, all right, so let's see what we can do about questions here. Let's see, Rob says, inclusion, exclusion list, can you say that it's provided with the contract? Jim Spear told me it has to be on the listing, the CEO of One Key. So I would say no, put it on the listing, okay? Let's see, is the property data form mandatory? I've been hearing different things. No, it's really not. It's not required. It's not a legal document. It's just the place where you are collecting information about the house, okay? Let's see, somebody's complaining about Zillow. I can't help you with that. Can we adjust the date on a coming soon listing? Meaning we want it to go in as new earlier than the coming soon date. Yes, just go in and change that coming soon date. So let's say you took the listing today, the coming soon date was October 14th. You have up to 14 days for a coming soon, but they get all the paint and the pictures and everything got done earlier. Go back in, edit your listing, and change the coming soon date to an earlier date, okay? Absolutely, you can. Let's see. Okay. All right. Is there any way we can practice doing a listing? Yeah, I did mention that, but just don't hit submit. Or you could put it in as a private listing, but the other agents in your office will see that you're practicing, okay? So sometimes we used to do it in class where we would put the address in as test. We would put the address as 1 Test Drive. And then, you know, then all the agents who saw it, the agents in the same office would see the private listing. They would know it was just somebody practicing. So you can try it. Okay, let's see. Yeah, the recording will be on LI Realtor. Let's see. Right here on the COVID page, that's where all of the Wednesday webinars have been going. If you scroll all the way down, you should check this out. These are unbelievable. Every single one of these 1-hour webinars that were free has been recorded. So today's will show up here as soon as John is able to get that done. Okay. Marilyn says, if it's coming soon, can I publish to Zillow or Realtor.com? I don't think MLS One Key is sending the coming soons to Zillow or Realtor.com. They're putting them on One Key MLS. That consumer website, but they're not sending them over, and I don't think you can get that on yourself either, okay? There's nowhere to cancel an open house. Deb, yeah, I guess if you delete it, that's a really good question, or maybe just put it in your property, your public remarks, put that in there. Okay. Let's see. All right. So if ACs are, I'm assuming we're talking about individual units, are at the property but not included in the sale, do we still select AC yes window units? No, no. If they're taking them with them, there's no AC in that house. Okay. Okay, that's not really a question. About the pictures, when you crop it, it gives you the option to make it a bit wider. Yeah, whatever option there is, you want it to fit that box in the end. Okay. Oh, where do you see attachments on a listing? That's a great question because some of you may be new. When you're looking at listings, right here at the top is where all of the attachments would be. Okay. Remember, mine was just a fake listing. It's not a real MLS. It's just with an asterisk. It's a private listing. Okay. Great question. Okay. How to change? Yeah, how to change. Robin, one of our new customer service people, uploading URLs for branded and unbranded tours. Sure, I can cover that. Let's go to edit. Okay. So if you have a, I believe it's just above, where is that? Here we go. Okay, so if you have a virtual tour, you can put it here in this first. A virtual tour is not a live video. It's just pictures that kind of move back and forth, or maybe you have the floor plan online program or whatever. Whatever URL the company gave you goes in here, okay? And apparently you can have up to 4. I have never really seen that. I don't know why. If your tour has your company information on it anywhere, you cannot put it in these 4 spots. You have to put it under the branded tour. And the only people that will see the branded one are going to be your fellow agents in your office, okay? And then if you have a video, if you actually took a live video or you have live drone footage, put it in YouTube, get that YouTube URL and post that right in here, okay? So, but none of these, except for the branded one, can have your company name on it because they go over to the public sites. All right. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, and the other question was about when I put ways in the location for directions. So it is under, I feel like I'm losing my mind for directions. Good heavens. Somewhere there, it says directions, the word directions, and I am just right now seeing it. But you'll see it, and just don't put the word ways in there, just type in some actual directions. I'm sorry, I've only been using this for 30 years and I can't find directions right now. Oh boy, okay. If you're not ready to post your listing on MLS, oh, that's a great question. If you just want to save it as a draft, just click on draft, right? When you're putting your listing, and this one's already been published, but if it hasn't, I already have a couple in my drafts. Let me show you. So if you go to add edit, one of the options is drafts here. So this is one that I haven't finished. These are 2 that I haven't finished. It'll stay here for 21 days. Okay. So while you're in the middle of a listing, let me just open this one. If you don't have all the info, sorry, and you want to come back to it, just click on Save Draft, okay? And then you can come back and finish it later. Great questions. Oh, you guys are so great. Yeah, the directions, everybody's asking where that is. If anyone knows where the directions are, please tell me. So Kate says, do you still recommend adding a list of special features and upgrades as an attachment, or is that information overload now that so many details can be included on the fact sheet? I don't know that there's such a thing as information overload when it comes to these listings. You know, people maybe prefer to see it on a pretty fact sheet. You know, you guys do nice, fancy, these listing detail pages. So someone might want that. I don't think that could hurt. Where is the 2-family listings under, Rita's asking, and I don't know. It just, when it comes to number of family, they're residential. 2-family, 3-family, and 4-family are residential listings, if that helps. Somebody said listing can be electronic only or seller can sign in person will be okay. It doesn't seem like a question. I don't really know what that means, but all of your documents can be signed electronically now, all of them. You do not have to get wet signatures with a pen for any of these documents. Okay. Yeah, Rita says, still a little confused about the 2-family listings. I don't know if you mean about searching for them. Rosaline, can we extend the coming soon date? I think you can edit it as long as it's not more than 14 days from the date you put it in. I believe you can if you need a few more days. Is the fair housing notice required as an attachment? No, there's no requirements for attachments, but a lot of agents are doing that, okay? I'm getting a lot of questions that really don't have, oh, thank you, Tanya, showed me where the directions are. All right, and that will be our last directions right here. We're not going to put ways, right? We're not going to do this. No. We're going to say, we're going to take Northern Parkway to exit whatever 20 east on Main Street, left on, you see what I'm saying? This is for agents who are driving and their phone dies, okay? In the old days, it wasn't for that. It was for, because we didn't have cell phones with GPS, but now it's helpful if someone's phone dies, okay? And it happens. So please don't put C directions, C map. It's just not fair, okay? So I'm gonna let you all go. Please, if you have questions, email me, BO'Connor@lirealtor.com, BO'Connor@lirealtor.com, and I will answer as many of them as I can. I will tell you I'm leaving for vacation tomorrow. So try to get those to me today and I'll try to get back to you as much as possible. Okay, so thanks everyone. I really appreciate your attendance and your attention, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks everyone.